Welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name is Bona.
And I'm Ash.
And we are two of the three co-founders here at Capsho. And we are really excited about today's live because we have had a lot of questions about the difference between the two different versions of our platforms out there at the moment. So we thought we would do a dedicated walkthrough of that. And that's what we're going to cover today.
Yeah, I mean, like we've been doing, we've been, I guess, getting these kind of questions. We're like, this is perfect. We great resource. We need to go and kind of put it together so we can kind of offer it up so people can see it. And then we were like, well, why don't we jump on a live and do this, in our unlive method? Because we've got this great resource. We've got to get it into everyone's hands. And I'm just going to say, and I mean, for everyone who has been watching the last kind of 6 odd weeks since we've been doing this, the two of us.
Has it been? Okay, yep.
It's good to be back. I noticed that you didn't welcome me back. You obviously been enjoying the last month without me. I was
welcoming our audience. I was. It was kind of peaceful here without you. Co-hosting is not what it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience too who are glad to see me back, and probably a lot that are glad to not have me back here. So you win some, you lose some.
I was going to say you're looking quite tan. Where have you been?
I appreciate that. I definitely do feel like I've got that Italian glow still on me.
Euro summer, that's where you've been.
Yeah. I feel like, and you were mentioning everyone was hitting up Italy this summer.
A lot of people in Italy. It's the place to be.
We weren't following a trend.
No.
We were just there for
my... trendsetter. Yeah.
I don't know about that. We were just there because my brother got married. So we just fell into our laps. But I mean, we probably are wasting too much of everybody's time. They want to see, I mean, if you're watching this, it's ultimately about... You've experienced Capsho 2.0, You're loving it, you're on that, and you've been hearing about Capsho NextGen. You've been hearing it from us, maybe from some others, and really the question is like, why do I want to make that move?
Yes.
And that's what we're hoping to bring to the table today, really show you all of the ins and outs of both of our platforms and what we've really done in our new Capsho NextGen version.
Absolutely. So we are doing a very detailed deep dive today, asset by asset, because a lot of the questions obviously we get are like, what about this and how does this work? So you'll see that. We'll start with that in terms of the direct comparisons. Then we're going to be talking about what you're going to find in NextGen that Capsho 2.0 doesn't have and never will, because we're obviously building in NextGen. And then some of the key differences that is really going to make, I think, NextGen kind of stand out. That's what we think anyway, but we'd love to know your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be really useful. Like Bona said, super detailed. Enjoy. I think let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's get into the assets side by side. So let's start, I guess, with the very first asset, which is our title and description. So what we're seeing here is your Capsho 2.0 title and description. So obviously, if you're watching this, you are quite familiar with, our Capsho 2.0 title and description. You'll know that the structure is very much block by block. These were blocks that, we created based on feedback from what people wanted, and you put this together. You put your title and description together based on what blocks you like to have. So, and then you can obviously save it as the whole layout as a template as well. And obviously the titles, you get these options. Probably not the best user interface, we can probably admit here. I know it was a little bit confusing for a lot of you, especially to get it set up and going. And the other piece of feedback we had as well was that these, which are called content honey traps, were a little bit on the dramatic side. And these, which we called key takeaways, were a little bit very formal, a bit AI-y, a little bit flowery, and kind of more summarized than really kind of gave people a reason to want to engage with this content.
Yeah. And I think, you can kind of see there on the top left, kind of different options and variations of each of these kind of blocks, which again, initially seemed like a great idea, but at that same kind of point, it's like a lot of overwhelm to review multiple options of kind of the same thing.
Yes. Exactly. So what we've done inside of Capsho NextGen is, look at that, so much cleaner and fun and brighter.
It's that light, white, bright.
It really is that we've actually taken all of our learnings and feedback and your feedback from Capsho 2.0 and actually put together a title and description that's actually going to be a lot more cohesive. So you don't have to worry about blocks. There's no blocks clogging up, your experience here. It's written end to end with the end of an end-to-end view in mind. And then what you can do is, if you would like, you can add things like the chapter summaries, the key moments, and the transcript. That's if it makes sense for you to do that. And obviously with the actual, key takeaways, they're written more as curiosity hooks, like the organic discoverability secrets that you need, rather than saying what they actually are and being, summarized for you. So that's the big sort of cleanup that we've done. We've also, obviously, people loved the title options. We've gone a little bit further to not just give you options that you can way more easily toggle between, but also a recommendation from our friend Monty as to which one.
Everyone's favorite sloth mascot.
He's really leveled up in terms of his usefulness.
He's
as well.
also a marketing genius, Monty.
So that's the key difference with our title and description. And to be honest, overall editing experience too.
Yeah, just again, making it a little bit more streamlined, simplified, taking all the best parts of, again, what people were using and finding useful from the title and description, and kind of setting it up in a way that I know, not trying to give away what the next kind of exciting thing's coming, but then how it's ready for people to continue to edit it in a more simplified, intuitive way.
Exactly.
So that's where we've got it in NextGen.
Absolutely. Now, the other thing that people are used to, obviously, is saving your layout as a template inside of Capsho 2.0. This applies to most of our assets, but inside of NextGen, you'll see that that isn't an option, and you don't need to, because it's actually going to self-learn. We'll really get into the self-learning difference inside of this when we go with the overall differences between the two, but asset by asset, rather than you having to pull together a somewhat structure of your own and have to save it and load it each time. It's actually going to do that for you more intuitively. Yeah,
and what I think that really kind of comes to life in that, if we look at, say, the 2.0 with the template, they're blocks, but they're static. So I like to think of it as going like, you can kind of know how it's pieced together, but they don't really almost like talk with each other.
Yes.
They are kind of designed and created independent. So you then, like, I would always kind of look or recommend to people would be like, okay, you've got to go in, and if you need to kind of like join this paragraph with that paragraph, that's what you would have to do from the human editing side of it. Whereas with NextGen, because it's taken everything, it kind of has that structure that you'll put together. And as I said, when I said like it'll learn, it will tie it together.
Yes.
So it'll make it read very cohesively with the elements. And then as you see fit to either add or remove, then it will continue to evolve for you. But the cool thing is that it'll be really bespoke for you, and that'll be really different to another person's design. So how I would do it would be very different to Bona's, essentially.
Yes.
So I think that's the really cool thing. But yeah, the titles were the things that the options made sense. So we kind of kept it in because that's a really great, helpful thought starter for people to get a sense of what it is that they want to kind of hook people in initially with.
So let's get into our second asset, which is the YouTube title and description. Very similar to the regular title and description, but specifically for publishing your YouTube video. Now, inside of 2.0, you have this process where you choose either a template you've already set up, like the Ash template, or you've got a template that it comes with, which is our YouTube description, or you can build it from scratch. So I'm just going to load one that in a template that it already comes in, and basically this is what you get. Again, similarly, you've got blocks here. Obviously, these blocks are now more YouTube video specific, but the process would be the same where you're building it block by block.
Yes.
And to your point earlier, Ash, about actually then it's a little bit more static. So you kind of get the title, you get this like hook, and then you go into the key takeaways and then the key moments. So pretty simple. You can obviously add, these other blocks here as well. I mean, it's not a terrible asset. It's definitely quite useful. We get a lot of good feedback on it. But really inside of NextGen, what we've done is to, again, take that to the next level, learn more about what it was that people liked about, the existing YouTube title and description, and bring it to life a little bit better. So you'll see it on your asset list here. And very similar to the title and description, it's written more cohesively. The hook is kind of broken up in a way that actually agitates the pain point and then introduces the video. And then again, the key takeaways are written more with a bit of a curiosity hook in mind and more in your tone of voice. And then obviously you get all of the good stuff like the key moments as well.
Yeah, so I think very similar to title and description. Again, it's really just more the platform that people are needing to leverage. Very similar kind of assets in terms of, I think, kind of almost the way 2.0 worked, as well as the way now Capsho NextGen is bringing it to life. Again, out of the box, the really cool thing is that this becomes whatever you would like it to be with the learning outside of 2.0, where it's like you do set up that template, but that template then, in a way, it's like it's customized, but then it also then has a level of staticness to it. That's the beauty of how we've set up NextGen, is that it's a little bit more, it feels like living and breathing.
Yep, exactly. And again, we have the title options as well as the title recommendations for you for YouTube. So we kept it very simple. We really like it inside of NextGen. We've also had input from people who are very, active on YouTube. So we'll continue to refine this just like with every other asset. All right, so now let's talk about social media captions, because this is probably the asset that we've changed the most inside of Capsho NextGen.
Definitely got the biggest overhaul.
Yeah,
and
makeover.
Biggest makeover, and then I think really exciting. I think it done in a way that I know simplified it for me.
Yes, and it's a lot more strategic. So just as a quick recap, inside of Capsho 2.0, you still do get some great caption assets. Just as a recap, you get these 4 platforms. You have Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube Shorts, and Twitter, now known as X. And we gave you promotional, engagement, and educational captions. So this was almost quite a 2D approach to social media, even if you have to admit that, because again, this is kind of how we very simplistically thought about, you got to go onto social media to promote stuff. You got to remember to promote. You got to sort of engage, I guess, and then you got to make sure that you're adding value and educating. So again, not a terrible place to start, but it was a little bit more of an old school way of thinking about it. So that's kind of what we would do, what we did, and then you kind of get this very promotional heavy sort of, promotion heavy caption that really promotes the content that you just uploaded. You get, sort of quite simple question style, captions that are meant to get people to engage, and it did a relatively good job. And then this more longer form educational captions that were our way of saying, hey, make sure you're adding value on social media. Now, inside of NextGen, we have actually built in a completely different and more strategic approach to social media captions. You will see that for each of the platforms that we create this for, we've actually put in the 4-post social media strategy from Katie Brinkley. And the 4 posts are made up of the awareness post, the tip post, the community post, and the action post. And it is Katie's proprietary awareness to action framework. That is a lot more, I would say, human way of approaching social media, and a much more effective way as well, because I think a lot of the time we forget social media is meant to be social for humans, and we kind of get into this very, promotional engagement. Now it's time to be educational mode, when really people just want to see content that they find really interesting, engage on that, get feedback, and feel validated in that way. And this framework does that for you.
And so definitely, I think looking back, remembering like those kind of 3 buckets in 2.0,
these 3, yeah,
you can kind of see that they're still there in the 4-post strategy. Like I go, okay, remember how we could actually link them. But again, it's almost like the first 2 assets. It's kind of taking something that was, I like that description of 2D, something that kind of has a little bit of life to it, but feels a little bit more static and rigid, into something that makes it's a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more efficient, a little bit more human conversational. So Absolutely. Taking that promotional piece to being, okay, how do we still take action with it? But I love the fact that like, even with what we do, and I know we're going to go into it, it's not just about promoting the content, but it has where you want them to go. Yes. Because these episodes, this content is not always just about getting downloads. It's about getting leads somewhere else.
Exactly. In the same way that you were saying with the descriptions, it's more cohesive because the entire description kind of talks to each other. Now what you have with the 4 posts, the 3 posts that you got inside of 2.0, they're very, again, it really depended on what Capsho would pull out, but you have a lot more control with the 4-post strategy, like Ash was just saying here, because when you upload it, you also tell us which premise. We give you some premises to sort of, choose from that you want your social media, assets to actually focus on, and then what action you want the audience to take, which could be to listen to your episode or watch your video, or it could be to buy your book or come and invest in your program. And then the other thing is, to that point, we actually flipped it where the action or the more promotional post comes at the end, rather than leading with that. So the 4-post strategy starts with what we call the awareness post. So as I'm loading this up here on NextGen, the other thing we built into this is to say, we've worked with Katie to say, okay, how do awareness posts best work on Facebook? Like what's almost, which is going to work very different to LinkedIn and Instagram. So we've actually built that in. So for each of the 4 posts, not only do you get the post itself and the copy itself, but also in the form that you should be sharing it on that platform. Whereas inside of 2.0, the content was kind of platform agnostic, even though we did load it for each platform. This is going to be specific by post type, but also by platform.
Yes. I think, again, it's almost that look back is just reminding me where we're almost just stretching that little bit further. So we started doing some of this work in 2.0. The platforms were split out. There were some differences, but we're seeing it even further and a little bit greater in NextGen because we've put added work in from obviously what we've learned from everyone's feedback, as well as working with Katie.
Exactly. So you'll see, for example, with the Facebook awareness post, you'll see a series of questions here because that's actually what works best on Facebook, or even an opinion, a statement that is designed to generate conversation, either by people agreeing or disagreeing. So it's some polarizing statements here. Your favorite?
Always my favorite. It's nice and short, simple, to the point, where get it straight out, easy to do as well. When you were like, okay, you just have to put on a colored baground and then post. I'm like, look, I can do that. You know, for someone who's not big on posting on social media, I was like, this is something that is achievable.
Yes, exactly. And you start your week with a win because you, to your point, do something really quick and relatively easy. You get tons of engagement. These generate engagement, crazy levels of engagement.
Yeah. It's always fun reading them just to see what angles it takes. And then almost like depending on which one you want to go with, do you want to play it safe or do you want to push it a little bit to see what your audience says?
Exactly.
And I always then even love when we've done like the challenge recently with eCamp, seeing what everyone is kind of getting,
putting out there,
so much engagement, but sometimes it's uncomfortable, you know, and you know, it works then.
Yes, exactly. People disagreeing can be uncomfortable, but then that's the point of social media, right? It's not, you know, not clickbait, but more again to generate those discussions. So that will already be a huge uplift. And then because we're still, you know, kind of in the way that we were angling with the educational posts inside of 2.0, we do still want to make sure we give you content that's going to help you be seen as an expert, help put your perspective through. So you have the tip post, which is, I guess, the equivalent of the educational post. It's still written in longer form. So you have that available to you still. You'll see that it's a bit more cohesive. It's not just an information sort of dump. And the other great thing is because you've chosen a premise ahead of time, it actually is the awareness post and the tip post, and you'll see the community and action post do also kind of relate to each other. So you're not kind of randomly posting at a topic level. There is a thread to follow for your social media. And then people will actually cotton on and say, oh, okay, I'm finding consistency now in message as well. Yep. So this is a great little, you know, you can definitely, a great little asset here. You'll find that the tip post is generally written in this way. People use it in lots of different ways. They turn this into a video sometimes. You have a video first audience. You can put it into a carousel, but it's got a lot of really great, potent information that's still pulling from your content, but really making you, I guess, the expert. So yeah, this is how we're thinking about, I guess, the new educational posts inside of NextGen.
And I'd almost just kind of like, again, call out that fact of like where 2.0 was almost trying to, in those early days with the templates and the options, it was giving so much variety and like, as I said, the variations to these types of posts.
Yes.
And really what I love in NextGen, and that is the difference, where sometimes it feels like, well, I'm getting less, but it's very much, I guess, the opposite, where that overwhelm now isn't there. Because I was just thinking going, if I was reading 3 different versions of the educational captions, because they're not short, you know, so again, to kind of read that, to work out which one I want to start with and then edit, takes time, and then you have the editing. And it made sense at the time, and people were, you know, I think everyone was kind of getting used to using tools like this in different ways. So hence we started building feedback and building the outputs in that way.
Yep. Here,
you still have that great starting point. As Bona said, far more cohesive, and then you can just get in and edit this, knowing that it will learn from you. Again, with some of the, again, upfront, we'll cover it off a bit later on this, the persona and the tone of voice, it's starting off at a much better place so that you can reliably just edit this first draft versus needing all of these options to get going. So I think that's just also a huge uplift in what we're doing with NextGen.
Across the board. Yep. And yeah, it's most obvious, I think, in a piece of content like the tip post and the educational post caption, sorry, because they were so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now there's a bit of an extra addition that really doesn't have, I guess, appear inside of Capsho 2.0, which is Katie's community post. This is the 3rd post in the 4-post strategy. And it is basically the human post where we encourage you to share your story, whether that's your own personal story or your community story, you know, your strategic partners, whoever that is in your world, as it relates to bringing the topic to even more fruition for people and more relevance. So obviously you start a conversation with the awareness post, you know, go ahead and add more context and education with the tip post. And the community post is where you add that human flavor. So what we do inside of Capsho NextGen is actually give you 3 thought starters to actually write your own community post. Now, this is an extra step, but we highly recommend you do it because, again, this is a really high performing post as well, because people do like social media to be about humans. Rather than just lots of people just screaming to get, I guess, their point of view heard. So again, this is not really something that we even factored into Capsho 2.0. We didn't really think about it, but this fits really well strategically for your audience. And again, people love this one as well because again, it's giving you a starting point, I guess, rather than just leaving you with a blank page where you just probably don't do it.
Yeah, and I think the beauty with this is that what we didn't want to try and create something that was, I guess, in your mind, because that's it. It's the AI can't read our minds.
Yep.
So I know in like really early days, you know, with 2.0, in one of the email kind of assets we had, we tried to, again, have a thought starter around a story that you could then mold, but it became really difficult because people would see that as, well, is this what I meant to kind of put out there? And it's made up. And
Yes.
it's like, well, of course it is, because we don't know your shared experiences
exactly.
with your audience, with your family. So kind of paring it back, because it is such a human post, just to kind of go like, these are 3 different kind of angles that probably have existed. And I know, just like, talking to the community, even if they go down a different path, it definitely sparks something in them, where one of these normally speaks to them, and then boom, that white page fever. Is white page fever? White page syndrome?
I've heard of that.
Well, I just imagine when you see something.
Page.
Yeah.
Yes,
because white page fever feels like I'm going too good with it.
I'm
I'm really
pitch level inspiration. I was like, wow, can we create white page fever? You probably mean blank page syndrome.
Blank page syndrome.
But I like white page fever.
I'm gonna keep that.
Yeah, make sure we remember that to do something with it.
So we just went, look, we're going to meet you halfway now and get you going, because you can take this, you can write from scratch, or you can even take this into a ChatGPT and get it going.
Guide that. And I would say this is one of the pieces of content where we are putting a challenge forth, let's say, to those of you who want to get more of a return from your content, because I think it can be very easy to phone it in on social media. And this is one of those posts where, you could just ignore it, and you could be like, well, I'm just, AI's not writing it for me, so I'm not going to do it. But that's probably going to mean that overall your content's going to fall flat. So our philosophy very much with NextGen is obviously creating efficiency where it makes sense, so that you can do higher value activities like the community post.
Yep.
Is this going to be the thing that people say, oh, I read this post, I'm going to go ahead and invest in your program? Probably not, but it's going to over time build your credibility and your trust with your audience. So it's really important that you do this kind of content.
100%. And it's probably the post that I'd imagine that I'd bring to the table and chat to you guys about, like, as you said, it's not going to immediately see the return, but it's probably going to connect with your audience in a way that's where old school word of mouth comes through.
Yes.
And something that maybe happens in my life, I go, that actually happened with, blah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Boom. That trust and connection is built. And then that helps the next week when you put out the next bit of content, or, a month's time, truly that person then feeling safe enough, going, actually, I'm loving everything I'm seeing from this person. It's time to take action, which would be the next post.
I love it. I wasn't ready for that. I feel like my fingers weren't ready enough. Okay, but that's exactly right, because now you have built your expertise credibility, you've built your relatability credibility, and then now it makes sense for you to follow up with the 4th post, which is the action post. Now you could kind of say it may be similar to the promotional caption in some of Capsho 2.0, but it's not really, because the promotional post that we created here, which again is a really great way for you to promote the content you've uploaded into Capsho, is kind of standalone, whereas the action post takes into account, inside of NextGen, it takes into account the premise that you picked, the action that you told Capsho you want your audience to take. It will do the work for you to link this content, which in this example that I'm showing is an episode that Deidre did with Adam Shibley, and it's actually going to link it to the action that you want the audience to take. I could have very well told Capsho to say, well, I want it to be related to our virtual summit that's coming up.
Yes.
And then it will do its work, or at least, suggestion to actually link it together so that you don't have to do that part. You can just work on finessing it and making it sound a little bit more like you, or whatever it is. But the action post, again, there's no kind of backing away from this content. I know some of us struggle a little bit, but have, I guess, comfort in knowing that it's not just going to be some tone deaf, just, hey, do this thing. It's going to be something that you've built on over the week, and it's going to take into account your audience and what you're guiding them towards. So it's much more powerful than just a promotional caption inside of 2.0.
Yeah, 100%. I think, again, that's the beauty with this one. It has that added flexibility where, outside of the context where so that social media kind of premise angle, which builds on the topic choice. So that topic is so great before to kind of give overall guidance to the content. Taking that extra step further for social media really then gets these a bit more dialed in. And then the action kind of CTA and context really allows everyone to have their own flexibility, where 2.0 was always about come and listen to this episode. So if you wanted it to be something else, you'd always have to edit that in every single time. Here, as Bona alluded to, if you're running a summit, if you've got, actually you do want them to go to this episode, if you want them to go to a lead magnet somewhere, you can do it. Tell Capsho, what that's really about, and then it will draw the parallels to make the content come together from your episode into the destination for your audience.
Exactly. So yeah, and if you did want to school up on all of this stuff, because there's obviously a lot here with the strategy, you can always go ahead and click those little eyes down there, and you will be introduced to this resource that has basically all of the content, the training from Katie herself, of course, but also our application of it and post-specific training by platform. Now, we don't have enough time to go into all of the specifics of the 4 posts for every platform, but definitely when you give Capsho NextGen a go, that can be something that you test out. But basically, we create them for Facebook, for LinkedIn, and also for Instagram. So you can go ahead and generate those from this button here as well. So a little bit different to what we have inside of Capsho 2.0. So we've split out Facebook and Instagram because they are two different platforms.
Yep.
And the way that we pull your 4 posts for Instagram is a little bit different to your Facebook one. So you have that to look forward to. LinkedIn, I've already spoken about. We don't have X on the new platform on Capsho NextGen. It was definitely not highly used inside of 2.0, but if it is something that you use, do let us know. And for YouTube Shorts, we'll get to this in a little bit. But again, we got the feedback to say, these captions aren't really necessarily too relevant to the shorts that you're posting. So we're doing them very differently inside of NextGen. That's going to be much more relevant for you.
Yeah. Almost like these shorts kind of captions were like, okay, great starting point. Now you'd almost like create the video content to go with them versus the opposite way. So we've really gone, okay, you've got the video content. Let's pair up with that and work out what the shorts caption should be for your content rather than the other way around. So
we said, touche, Capsho viewers, touche. So we'll show you what that looks like when we go through the clipping part of it. All right, so now let's talk about the LinkedIn article, which I think unofficially is one of the most favorited assets in both Capsho 2.0 and NextGen, and for good reason, because I think it's such a great asset for those of you who have a LinkedIn newsletter. Now, with the LinkedIn article, it did go through a few iterations inside of Capsho 2.0 as well. We started with kind of all of the mini blocks and things like that. So we worked with the LinkedIn expert, Vinny, to get his feedback. And we ended up moving more towards, well, okay, you get the title, which is important, and the options, but the article is kind of going to be written more cohesively for you. So this was probably the start of our efforts to almost making it a little bit more, one and done by way of like us having a bit more intelligence around how we write this out for you outside of a block format.
yes, yeah. So, I mean, those OGs would remember when it was just exactly like all the other 2.0 assets in that block templated form.
Yep.
But I think this, and we'll get to obviously the blog next, those longer form pieces, it just made sense to start that evolution and obviously offer a lot of feedback. So yeah, so 2.0 probably looks a little bit more, the most like NextGen by way of having just one output.
Mm-hmm.
And then really the added, I guess, smart, so that learning and structure kind of comes into NextGen, which very much is, NextGen specific.
Yep.
Then we threw in some extra pieces there around, say, image suggestions and just a lot of formatting. So just being able to bring to life what this would look on a page versus in 2.0, all of the copies there ready to edit. But it probably did require you to take it off platform, spruce it up a little bit to make it a little bit more presentable. I know for me sometimes seeing text, you don't really know how you're going to present it in a blog or on a LinkedIn article.
Yes.
So I find this NextGen a lot more, it's just easier out of the box for me to get started, I know personally.
Exactly. And look, that makes a big difference for those of us who are editing, copying and pasting and publishing. This also makes it easier to edit, to be honest. Even if you're not thinking about final state formatting, you're kind of like, okay, yeah, this is the, this is a title, and then I'm going to have a feature image, and it's going to set up the article, and then I'm going to get into the origin story. So, it really structures your thinking as well. We've also, rather than putting the onus on you guys to put in, CTAs and stuff like that, whilst the article does round things out and give you a CTA, we've also, like you were talking about, put in, best practice things like this that, reminds you to make sure that you link your profile and subscribing to your LinkedIn newsletter and things like that. So these things should just hopefully be much more helpful for you and very, very specific to the platform itself, which is in this case LinkedIn newsletter. And we've also got feedback to say, given a lot of you are working with teams and, this is like a mutual editing space, that, putting in notes for your people, like in this case, I think I've suggested to Karen, who's in our team, to put in a podcast player and things like that is also a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
The editing experience is easier as well.
And I mean, the beauty with that is, I mean, if you just go to the bottom again there, Bona, I mean, Bona highlighted there the like connecting with Deirdre Shen and, subscribe to our newsletter part. Again, we might kind of put that in up front, very open, but those have happened over time because every time we've made edits, we have added the actual links in.
Yep.
And hence that comes out now in the output. So that's not what you're going to see day one in Capsho from the very first upload. But now every time we put an episode through, we get that ready made and we don't have to copy and paste that in because it now knows that that's the consistency that Karen, who is helping us edit it, has set it up for us. So all those little bits and pieces, and even the formatting, if you like to bold things, if you like to use italics, if you're putting it into the editing process here inside Capsho NextGen, it's going to take that on board and continue to show that in future pieces there. Bona's just used the block quote. So if you like to use block quotes, it will then show and put different pieces in block quotes. If you don't like it, it will learn that and return it in a more simpler formatted way. So that's the beauty of this, is going, use the editor a lot more. I think that's the probably difference in 2.0 as well. 2.0, great. The editor had some functionality. It had some kind of glitches here and there. We've really tried, but again, it was like, is there a purpose or point to using the Capsho editor? Not hugely. Whereas in NextGen, the importance of using the editor is a lot greater because if you don't put it in there and mark as complete, we're not going to be able to continue to help make future assets and outputs better from your formatting, structural, tone of voice perspective.
Exactly. And our commitment to you to enable you to do that is to try to make the editing experience as enjoyable and as easy as possible.
Yeah, that's it. It's just got to be simple.
Okay, so let's talk about Transcript. This may not be something that everyone uses, but for those of you who do publish it alongside your content, I know you always want to know what's going on with the transcript. So you will also get a transcript inside of Capsho NextGen. At the moment, inside of Capsho 2.0, obviously its own standalone asset, but inside of 2.0, it will be part of your title and description. So you just, when you're ready with your title and description, you'll just hit the little plus button, scroll down, and you'll be able to generate your transcript. You'll just want to pick where you'd like to put it, and then it will generate it on the spot for you. So that is the full transcript inside of NextGen. I guess there's not really too much to comment on in terms of difference. It's probably similar levels of, accuracy and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's it. The transcript is still the same as what you're getting in 2.0, just potentially the only different there in formatting is a range of start and end timestamps for each of the, paragraphs or sections versus just a single starting timestamp. So I think that's the difference. We just gave you a single starting timestamp there. You can see a 0 and then 25 seconds in the next one. Here it's kind of breaking down into smaller chunks and going 0 to 5 seconds, 6 to 18, etc.
Perfect. But yeah, that's the transcript. All right, so now it's time to talk about the blog post, which again is one of the, people love long form content. I know it's something that we use AI a lot for. So we really wanted to make this bigger and better inside of Capsho 2.0, Capsho NextGen, sorry, from Capsho 2.0. Getting my babies confused. But the key thing to note here is obviously inside of 2.0, I think we went a little bit of, a quantity game. We wanted to give you everything. So we said, here's a how-to blog post, the listicle and the Q&A and this other expert blog post thing. And really what we found was people generally just wanted a how-to blog post. They wanted a really well-written how-to blog post.
It's just a great starting point. Yeah.
And also the data backs it because it's still, I think after all this time, still the top performing type of blog post from an SEO perspective. That's what people are looking for. Nice. So that's where you want to spend your time anyway. Similar to LinkedIn article, we've done a bit of work to make it a little bit more cohesive. I think this one obviously also went through a lot of iterations. I remember of different blogs and us trying to make it really, informative but easy to read. And there was a lot of, sort of transformation we went through inside of Capsho 2.0 as well, which left us with this, relatively readable and informative piece of content that was also cohesive in a way, but we knew that we could kind of do better. And I think we also, towards the end of, I think last year, we also, based on request, we also gave you the ability to add your meta description block as well as an infographic block that would at least give you the content for what you should turn, into an infographic, which a lot of people missed. So probably could have done a better job with the UI there. But that's what you currently get inside of 2.0. So inside of NextGen, we have actually given the blog post a makeover as well. As you can see here, very similar to the LinkedIn article, we have the title, of course, and all the title options, and we have made a point to make it when we say long form, like it's got a decent amount of content in here. Again, it's structured and formatted in a way that you might expect from a how-to blog post as well, and some best practices there. It's got the image suggestions, which is very important. Metadata is very important for blogs. And with the meta description and the infographic content, it's kind of already displayed there for you, so you're not having to hunt around for it as well. So once again, it's just a more put together piece of content with both readability, but also keywords factored into it. Yeah, so that's the how-to blog post, but we are obviously, if you have, we base this on, our usage data, and we found that how-to was the most important. But I guess if you have been using the other types of blog posts, maybe let us know.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think what continues to come out, and that's why I'm loving this kind of almost this exercise for us as we kind of put them side by side, is that it just really, again, reminds me that Capsho 2.0 was built off like breadth and volume, because I think at that time, as I was saying, like, we could do it, and we thought that was the best approach.
Yep.
And really what we found from everybody's use with it was that, and even then our own usage of all these different tools, well as Capsho, is that, more is not necessarily better.
Yeah.
It is just going to create more overwhelm that takes time to review so that you can still get an end output. So it wasn't actually saving as much time as we would like.
Yeah.
So that beauty of going, okay, let's just strip this back. We don't need 4 blog posts to review, and load them all up so we can kind of see which one we might want to start with. That beauty of NextGen, just going, okay, we're going to anchor in the one that we know that people were using, make it better. So 2.0 definitely had, again, like LinkedIn article, it's already started that, which was great. Always great to see the evolution and the genesis, but really kind of NextGen just making it simpler. And then the exciting part coming down the track, like as you mentioned, if people were, if anyone was using the Q&A or the listicle, like please jump in, let us know. There will be ways for you to get that kind of expansiveness and kind of turn and transform what we're already producing in NextGen into other formats.
Yes.
But the beauty with that is that people can do it as they need it versus everyone having it available, and it's not necessarily appropriate or needed for every person, because I know I'm that person. If it's there, I'm going to want to explore and play and touch everything.
Yes.
And that's not, again, that's to
2
my
hours
detriment.
later.
Going, oh, okay, Grace, I understand this platform. What have you done?
Yes.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Except for open every tab.
Yeah. And then you've got like 20 tabs open with all of the blog posts that you're not about to publish because you've gotten overwhelmed. So we take our part in that. We're going to reduce the overwhelm, but make, like you said, it's a little bit of a teaser as to how we're going to help you at least expand on the things that you want to.
Yeah.
With a new
but that's the thing, is like you don't really technically need that.
Exactly.
The bones of what you just need to drive and generate great content and leads is really already in here, ready to go.
Exactly. Love it. All right, so to round out our little tour of Capsho 2.0's Copy Studio and how that stacks up against Capsho NextGen, let's talk about email. So again, this is definitely one of the harder nuts to crack from an AI perspective. We gave it a go with Capsho 2.0. Just a quick reminder, you get an email subject as well as 2 types of emails. Promotional emails, which again promotes the content that you have just uploaded, and then engagement email, which has more of a lens of getting your audience to write back to you. Again, this is something that was highly requested inside of Capsho NextGen. This is something that we're working on. So when you are currently inside of here, it's not an asset that is yet available for you. Again, because we wanted to take a bit of a step back and think about this more strategically, and how where an email would fit into your workflow. Because a lot of feedback we got was, okay, some of this content is helpful, but again, I don't really know like how often I should be sending this email, when and how and to who. So we're like, look, I think email is one of those things that fits in really differently for everyone. So why don't we have a bit more of a strategic think about it? So it will be coming soon inside of Capsho NextGen. It is one of the assets we're kind of actively looking to work on, but we don't quite have it in there just yet.
Yeah, I think again, it just falls into that bucket, the 2.0 versus kind of next gen evolution of, hey, we can write an email, and we did it make sense to always be there? Like, how many people are constantly promoting, like, listen to my podcast episode?
Yep.
And that's all that it kind of could really do.
Yep.
Versus actually, how do we use email? When do we actually, leverage our email lists to promote something? And I guess there's a lot more breadth in terms of what we're probably emailing our lists about.
Yes.
Hence, that's why kind of like leaving email out for now, so that you're not just anchored in, okay, it has to be tied to your latest video upload on YouTube or your latest drop as your podcast, but more leveraging what we're already producing in NextGen, and then smartly creating emails off the back of that potentially, so that you can then tell people about the awesome content that you are creating from that anchor piece of content.
Exactly.
So again, being able to kind of create content from content, if that makes sense. Is that right? Just thinking that out.
I think so. How many levels? Yes, I think that's right. I'm going to say yes. But yeah, super exciting, times ahead in that space, because email is such a great conversion tool. And we look forward to having you inside of NextGen so that you can experience it with us. All right, so now we are doing Creative Studio, which is basically all of the assets that we, inside of 2.0, we create for you that will ultimately have a visual form. And I know one of the things, because we wanted to get the important part right, which was the identification of these assets, we put a lot of effort into that. But a lot of it, in terms of what you got, as in Capshovians got, was very flat on the page written assets for something that you had to imagine into visual assets. So we're very mindful of that. But let's come back to Soundbites, but let's start with segments. Now, this was definitely my favorite Creative Studio asset. I feel like underappreciated.
Well, I'm going to say I'm glad to hear that, because definitely it was my favorite in terms of probably like the work that went into it to get this done in a really like smart way.
Yeah.
Never really felt like got used.
Yes. The data showed.
The data showed, but I think again, as you just mentioned there, it's just a really like great starting point 2D, where it still requires then, we've almost made work for people.
Yes.
And I guess people were like, we don't want to do that work, regardless of how good it might be.
Yes.
It's really hard to still imagine it on the page as to what the outcome is going to be. So you might do this and then not really love it.
Yeah.
And again, then you're like, well, why did I invest this amount of time?
Exactly.
So probably something that we've definitely put on the shelf. I'd love to know if anyone ever used these segments and what, how they use them, how do they find them. But for now, probably not going to be coming across over to NextGen in this format, but have some ideas kicking around in terms of how people can kind of leverage these different types of video clips in better ways. So yeah,
absolutely.
Valet segments.
All right. And then in terms of our potent quotables, which are the most quotable quotes from the upload, obviously another really popular asset. This is something that is definitely going to be coming to NextGen, hopefully somewhat imminently.
Yes.
People have been asking for it, so don't fear, quotes will be here.
100%. I mean, I'm loving that from Bona, master.
I'm a poet, really. I wasn't even trying.
No, I'd almost say, I don't know when, this is dropping.
But
maybe it's already there. Who knows? That's how imminent. We are talking imminent.
That is true. In terms of the quotes, yes.
So yeah, quotes are going to come.
Yeah. All right. And then we had this other, I thought, really nifty feature. Again, maybe not enough people knew about it or were using it, but basically the script generator identifies all of the questions that is answered in this particular upload, what action you want the audience to take, and it will actually write a script for you that you can then turn into a video. Super, useful piece of content. Not in NextGen again yet.
Not yet, and probably not going to be like strictly in that format. So again, if we think about it, we're giving it that name, going script generator. It's kind of like tied it to you're going to get in front of the mic and video.
Too specific. Maybe.
And create something that you're then going to potentially publish. There were probably a lot more applications from that starting point. So we're going to definitely look to leverage the starting points and then allow our Capshovians to kind of create off the back of that. So script generator will be coming in a more improved formatting.
Yep. Excited about this one. All right, so now let's talk about Soundbites, which were definitely the most used and I guess, popular asset inside of Creative Studio for Capsho 2.0. Again, we would give you we spent a lot of time obviously in creating the actual identification logic and intelligence. We always got really great feedback for that, but then people were like, okay, now what do I do with this?
Yes.
So very exciting to report, inside of Capsho NextGen, you actually are not just going to get the clips that have been identified for you in those sound bites, but you are actually going to be able to clip and create the clips that you can export directly inside of the platform. Hooray!
Yeah, again, just making it a little bit more streamlined, and it's that evolution of the platform. 2.0 started the work and the process, and now NextGen is taking that next step further.
Yes. Now, we are forever a work in progress. We get things out to you as quickly as possible to get it in your hands and test it in real life rather than just theoretically. So this is something that's going to be enhanced even further. We've been playing around with the workflow, and learned a ton from your feedback. So I'm sure whenever you're watching this video, by the time you watch this, you may be looking at a different clipping experience. But the main thing is, what is not going to change is the amount of work and insight we've put into helping you identify the most important pieces. As you can see here for this episode, we've highlighted 9, and the ability for you to export your video clip into your editor so that it's already pre-generated for you, where you can actually download it directly from here. You'll have the ability to do it as a landscape or a portrait video, of course. And now you can generate a video-specific caption rather than those random YouTube Shorts captions you had inside of Copy Studio. So at the moment we have YouTube Short captions available, and we'll also have Instagram Reels captions coming very soon. So they're a little bit different. But yeah, this is definitely something we're super excited by.
So definitely that, taking the sound bites that we had in Creative Studio, being able to bring those to truly bring those to life, and then taking those kind of YouTube Shorts that were also there, which were great, but kind of didn't do anything, and now being able to actually generate them for the clip. So really bringing to life those 2 elements of 2.0 into something that is a lot more cohesive in NextGen.
Okay, so now just to round out our chat about assets, I want to talk about what we currently generate in Capsho NextGen that we don't in Capsho 2.0, because again, we talk about our evolution a lot. We've learnt our mistakes of just going for breadth. What we did realize was that we should probably do our part in helping you generate assets that actually help you further along the path beyond publishing and more into lead generation. So now with every upload inside of Capsho NextGen, you also get a checklist lead magnet. So you can generate literally, again, because most of your content is going to be highly educational, it's actually Capsho NextGen is actually going to turn it into a checklist that you can, then take forth into any kind of asset that you want, or you can actually create a lead magnet asset from it as well. And as always, we'll look into making this even easier for you to use, and for your audience to use as well. But this is very new and very, very exciting, and has got a ton of really great feedback already.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is really I think we released and dropped this last week. So as Bona said, with most things now, trying to get it out quick. The thing that always strikes me is going definitely how it can visually be represented to make it easier for everyone to kind of then take to the next level. But the beauty is that starting point of being able to take this great content and then turn it into that lead magnet, in something like a Canva, I guess.
Exactly. Super easy to do. And some people have been sending it out as emails. So again, kind of gives you so much.
That's always the cool thing of going, we kind of designed something with it in mind for this, and then people immediately see it and go, oh, I can actually do it over here as an email to my list for this reason. And you're going, of course. That is the beauty, I think, of all of this, is that there's a lot of titles that get put to it. If you just stick to the label, it can be a bit rigid. It's being able to play with that, bit of creativity is always great.
Yeah. And the checklist works great for that, because it gives you so much that you can work through in terms of content. So that's a really great piece of content. You'll also get what it's called the Facebook Same Post content, posts for Facebook, obviously. This is Deidre's strategy that's actually going to help you get more opt-ins for this lead magnet. So there are 3 posts to that strategy. That's why you'll see post 1 of 3, post 2 of 3, and post 3 of 3. They are designed for Facebook. Obviously, some people have been experimenting with other platforms. We have tested it on Facebook and it works really well. The Same post is really a very simple post that you can put out there to get people to self-volunteer and self-identify as someone who wants what you're working on, which is the lead magnet. So when you read it, it's very simple. It's more so, I guess, the genius is in the strategy. But again, for those of you who are wanting to make either test or, kind of get more activity in when it comes to lead gen, this is a really great post to start with. So again, because it's Facebook, Capsho will create 5 options for you, written really succinctly and simply. And yeah, we would love your feedback on how you're using this. But so far we've got, some really good feedback as to how, how helpful it's been for people. So that's the same e-post, the first of the 3 posts. And then the second post is going to be the why post. Now, this is designed to follow up the same e-post to really button down your people, to communicate more the benefits of the lead magnet that you're talking about. It gives you an option also it gives you the ability to also, again, be a bit more of an expert in the space and stay top of mind for people. But again, if this is not the type of content you're currently putting on social media, a lot of people have found value in sending this as an email as well, which again goes back to that previous point of just at least getting people, your audience, thinking about the kind of content you are creating. And finally, we have what we call the BTS post, stands for behind the scenes. And this is another one where we recommend sharing a personal story, very similar to the community post in the 4-post strategy. And Capsho will give you 3 ideas of the kind of BTS posts you can share. So this is, again, very new. We've created a ton of training content around this as well, so that will be available for you to help implement that strategy. If not exactly as how we've prescribed it, but again, as just other ways that you can get your audience to become leads more so, rather than just passively consuming your content. So yeah, so that's the new stuff that's currently inside of NextGen that you don't get inside of Capsho 2.0, with a lot more to come.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's get into sort of the more overall changes that we've brought into, whether it's from a workflow perspective and or, kind of how your overall content is processed by Capsho, with obviously much better results inside of NextGen. The first thing is you can actually now, for every file that you're uploading, this is exciting, if you can actually upload guest content as well, where you have been a guest or you have been on other people's platforms, whether it's a presentation, a podcast episode, so you can actually tell Capsho, and it has the ability to process that kind of content as well.
And that's a real massive step forward, because I know that we had that idea, it feels like 18 months ago. I mean, I don't think it was that long, because I think that's how long we've been going now in Capsho total. No, a couple of years. But yeah, something that was really just after we launched 2.0, an idea that we're kicking around, and then never really got it off the ground in 2.0, to be able to now see it brought to life in NextGen is awesome. So yeah, that ability to take all of that awesome guesting content that I know so many people do. I know you think about DJs on so many different people's podcasts at times, being able to get all of that great content and be able to repurpose it, huge game changer.
Yeah, and it's so hopefully very elegant in terms of you just kind of make that
distinction just here.
And it's super easy. Now, the other big uplift that we've had, this is probably, I don't know, if I had to pick just one thing that I could talk about that's different, it's up there, I would say, is the ability to create personas, your own persona.
Well, I think that makes sense, because everything, persona drives everything that we've just looked at with the asset by asset kind of comparison. If you get your persona dialed in early, you're going to see better outputs and outcomes.
And it was the number one piece of feedback we got, obviously, inside of Capsho 2.0. Everyone knows it's AI, but again, you start to have bigger expectations around, well, could I train it? Could I tell you how I like to speak? So I'm not expecting AI to know it out of the box, but is there a way that it can learn from me? So that was always what we were getting. And, we did our best. Inside of Capsho 2.0, we do give you the option, to give to sort of some sort of codified tone of voice. But people wanted
it was
more.
We knew kind of where we wanted to go with it, and we started the process. But we weren't able to fully take it to the next level.
Exactly.
And now that's what we see in NextGen. We gave those kind of generic tones of voice. We had some information. Now, creating new persona, huge.
Exactly. This has been such a game changer. And I hate the word game changer now because AI has ruined it, but it truly is changing the game for people's experience with Capsho.
You flipped it.
Thank you.
That's how I know you're not AI.
That's right. I'm for real. I'm Bona. But yes, so there's 2 elements to setting up your persona with Capsho. You obviously, firstly, it is very, very important for us to know your overall context. So you'll tell us, what you do and how you think about yourself, and who your audience is, what they're looking for. And that is a huge part, obviously, of, how it gets, or maybe I should say meditation playlist, but how it gets the context of who we are. So this part is really important, and we do recommend, obviously, you take the time. But you, Ash, have also built an nifty little tool for those people who may not be I don't actually know how to crystallize this. You can actually use our persona generator, where you just put in your bio and it will create these parts for you. So we truly have tried to think of everything for you. And then once you do that, this is where the magic happens, where you can actually you can obviously choose a generic tone of voice, which we highly recommend you don't. You can actually train it with pieces of your own content. We recommend social media and email. All you have to do is go ahead and copy and paste them in here. We recommend 10 if you can, but I guess at least up to 5 is
just a minimum of 5 works well. Definitely 10 is just a great kind of starting point. You don't need more than that to kind of get Capsho really understanding and dialed into the way you like to write and the kind of stylings. But yeah, that's the beauty right there. I mean, you can kind of see the 2.0 with the generic kind of drop down there. You can still do it if you loved it and it's working for you, but definitely I know even some of the earlier users, when they kind of went back and created the persona again. So they'd set up a persona using the generics, then they went in, when actually I didn't realize I could do my own tone of voice. Let me try that. The immediate uplift from even then the first upload with that persona was just so noticeable. So to Bona's point earlier, if there's nothing else, this, and it's sometimes really tricky because it's so early in your Capsho NextGen journey because you have to set up your persona before you can get any of that great content. And I know people sometimes like, I just want to get there.
Yeah,
like, how do I skip through this?
Yes.
And it's just like, just take those kind of like extra like 5-10 minutes just to really get like who you are, answer those kind of 4 questions so that we really understand your audience and your product and service better, and then fill in the tone of voice so that we can, produce awesome, amazing content from the first upload, which then just gets better with that whole markers complete self-learning that we've built into NextGen.
That's huge. This is a good starting point already. The uplift will be really clear, but really the magic sets in when you start to edit, make the edits in markers complete, and it starts to self-learn. So yeah, what you want to have for this is basically content from your social media and email sort of ready to go. Just copy and paste them right in. And then when that happens, your persona will save. Obviously, we've already got one for Deidre. All you have to do then is just set it up once and you pick it every time. Obviously, if you have multiple personas, you can set those up as well, going through the same process. But then when all you have to do is just pick them from the drop down, and it's pretty easy. All right. So the other key difference we've brought into Capsho NextGen to make your social media content even better is that you will find that the topic chooser step is pretty much exactly the same. So we still encourage you to choose a topic and we'll still give you the SEO scores and all of that. That's all working really well. But once you have chosen your topic, you will actually be asked to choose a premise. So this is actually going to be, because it's really important for your social media content to be as potent as possible and more specifically have a perspective that's very unique to you. That doesn't mean that you're the only person in the world that has a perspective, but we're really encouraging you to say, as it relates to the topic of content creation for blog posts or, enhancement with AI capabilities, what is a specific premise that you want, people to, to select for this. So once you pick the premise, which is, again, going to be another micro decision we ask you to make, but it actually is, that's going to be what factors into those 4 post social media posts that we create.
It just creates that greater specificity as to what you want the social media content to be. The topic is generally it's a good high level starting point.
Yes.
And that was the difficulty with social media, is that it's probably a little bit too broad and vague. When we go on social media, we are there to say something or to offer, hopefully, again, our viewpoint. Otherwise, that's that part of it. You're not really creating connection if you're just saying something, but without saying something in a way.
Yep.
So the premise was there to go, let me get a little bit closer, take a particular perspective, and then be able to create those 4 posts off the back of that.
And in this example, we could just talk about AI, using AI for content creation, but in this example, we would say, no, it's just more than an AI tool. It's a client attracting machine. Again, that's a very specific take that we're taking compared to other people in the AI space. So that's a quick example. And then the third step is going to be actually giving Capsho the call to action that you want it to take into account for your action posts for your social media. Now, this is what we were talking about earlier, but rather than just generically assuming that it's all about the upload that you put in our case, we could actually put in here to say, try Capsho for free for 14 days and give it a little bit of context as to what Capsho is or the action is about. But again, this is super helpful because now it's going to really customize it to get it closer to the conversion that you want from your content, which is going to mean that you're going to get higher ROI on what you're creating. So this is, again, I think another really big uplift. Again, it's a little bit of extra work, but well worth it because it's going to really improve the quality of the content you're getting.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things where it's like you spend a couple minutes here and then you'll find that you do, 15 minutes less editing further down the track versus hey, save 2 minutes here. It all happens a lot faster. And then I'm still looking at all of these posts going, actually, I didn't want it to kind of promote just the episode. And then you're going through and editing it. So really well worth it. All
right. And last but definitely not least, another thing that we have implemented that's different in Capsho NextGen is basically how we think about what you upload into and how much you can upload into Capsho. So currently inside of Capsho 2.0, you have your monthly credits basically, and you have 1 upload equals 1 credit. We realized that there was a bit of inflexibility in that. So we've actually moved inside of NextGen into a minutes methodology, if you will. And every month you get 300 minutes. So I think on average, we were finding that our Capshovians were uploading kind of like half hour,
like 40-minute kind of episode. So you definitely then get more than that 5. And given some of the cool capabilities with, say, the video clipping, it doesn't then kind of penalize people for putting short 15 or 20-minute kind of clips through, or even shorter. Sometimes people would maybe want to put 10 minutes through to get some kind of clips identified or quotes identified. That was probably counterintuitive in Capsho 2.0 because that's taking up a lot of not time, but eating that credit up for something that you might not want, like a blog post and a LinkedIn article and all the stuff. So you really then had to probably do some mental gymnastics to go, is it worth it?
Yep.
So we really wanted to remove that to say, hey, you've still got your classic, say 4 40-minute episodes through, and then you've still really got so much time to still play around with other content you've created, or go back in the archives and think about a webinar that you did, 6-9 months ago, and put that in and get some content from it, not always having to think about this is for publishing only purposes.
Yeah, or upload your guest appearances.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that's
But
super
I haven't
exciting.
guessed on anything. I've got to get my guesting numbers up.
Yeah, that's true. So if you want a guest for your podcast or your YouTube show, Ash is available.
Get in touch with Bona at...
All right, I believe that's everything. We're super excited. We're going to have a ton more coming inside of Capsho NextGen. So subscribe to our YouTube channel to make sure that you get all of the all of the updates. But yeah, we're super excited to have you try NextGen, see the differences for yourself for your own content.
Yeah, and if there was a question we didn't kind of like cover off, like please shoot it through, comment below, and yeah, we'll definitely get back and let you know. But I feel like it was very comprehensive. If we didn't cover it off, like it's such nuance that people are getting into and love 2.0.
Well,
Wow.
that was, again, very detailed. Super. I mean, you might have a notice that our voices have come back to a regular pace. I would say that anyone who's basically watching that, obviously live, or if you're going to watch this anytime, if you have any questions for any of what we saw and we covered off, or as we mentioned that, if we missed anything and you're like, actually, I want to find out a little bit more about something else that is in the existing platform, or what's this in NextGen, please get in touch with us.
Yeah.
Bona, where can people send those?
I think the best place would just be to drop a comment here, just because when we reply, we want to make sure that as many people as possible can see it. So and if you're an existing Capsho event already, then you can get in touch with us at support@capsho.com.
Yeah, so that's it. Any questions, do that. Drop the comment, comment below. But after watching that, I'm hoping everyone's sitting back and going, I can very much agree. Let me at NextGen.
NextGen is clearly the superior platform.
I mean, 2.0 is lovely too. I mean, you've given so much. I mean, NextGen, amazing. 2.0, hopefully, again, that covering of going, it's been great. It's done a lot for you. NextGen has all of it and more. So if you've been considering it, jump across, set up that trial, play around with NextGen, and then again, ask questions. I mean, as I said, like sometimes you can watch these things, some questions will come to mind. A lot of the time then it's like, hold on to those, get a trial going, play with that new platform, see if it answers it for you.
Yep.
Or it clarifies exactly what you have on your mind, so that we can kind of help out answer any of those kind of, again, what about this? Can it do this? Will it be coming? Because we do have a lot this is just the start. NextGen is going to be evolving over time. We've got some really cool things coming. So
very exciting. And you do get, because like we said, we can show you all of the, the demos and walkthroughs in the world, but to your point, Ash, until you actually try it for yourself and your content most specifically, that's when it's really going to kind of, you'll be able to see the difference. So when you do sign up for a free 14-day trial, you will get 120 minutes to play around with, which is, you can put plenty of content through there, put all of your content that you're like, I wonder how it's going to do with this. That's what we recommend, how we recommend using the trial, so that you can really put it through its paces, see what you get back. And then you have 14 days to use that up. Like I said, we'll be around to answer any questions. Sure. And all you have to do to sign up is head over to our website, www.capsho.com. Shout out to you, Ash, for having rebuilt it. So those of you,
the new site is up and running.
We have a brand new website as well that's way more on point with our personality and what we do and what we're focusing on. Yeah, so definitely worth checking that out, as well as obviously there's buttons all over the site to sign up for a free trial. So you can just go ahead and do that. It'll be great.
Well, again, I'm, like I said, glad to be back. Glad to be back. I don't think I'm going to go anywhere. And then 2 weeks from now, it's just Bona, and it's like, man, this guy, Ash.
You heard it now. He's promised he's not going to stay, but we'll see. We'll see about that.
Again, then till next fortnight?
Yep.
Bi-weekly?
In the next 2 weeks.
Next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We'll see you then.
All right. Bye.